Chapter 2. "Come on in, Audrey," Kyle blurted. "This is Carol Baker." "Audrey Wilkes," his partner said, extending her hand. Carol Baker noticed the firm, businesslike grip, even though she had only placed her fingers in Audrey's hand. The two women appraised each other. Audrey saw an aging glamour girl who had come into money, a trophy wife, tarnished a little with time. Carol Baker saw an energetic 30-something who seemed to spare little time or effort on her appearance. A cute face and an athletic shape, Carol could see, little makeup, easy-to-manage short hair, and office skirt and blouse. She pictured a matching jacket hanging in Audrey's office, and a closet full of similar suits in her closet at home. "Mrs. Baker has a pressing legal problem for us to work on, Audrey," Kyle announced, in an important-sounding tone. Her husband, Carl Baker of Baker Food Group International, suddenly died, and rather than give her a decent time to mourn, she's afraid the police, or the district attorney, might somehow try to blame his death on her. Audrey looked over Mrs. Baker's mourning outfit. The high heels, the short white skirt, the cream-colored blouse, open to reveal the lacy top of her bra. "At least it's a black bra," she thought. "I guess that's what passes for somber these days." "Has the district attorney contacted you, Mrs. Baker?" she asked. "Not yet." "The police, then?" "No." Audrey glanced at Kyle, and quickly back to Mrs. Baker. "Then what makes you think they suspect you?" "He was shot, but when they get the results back from the autopsy, they'll know he was also poisoned. They'll think it was me, because I'm the person who stands to gain the most from his death. Billions, in fact. Not to mention that I'm finally free." Audrey nodded, and looked steadily at Mrs. Baker. Mrs. Baker returned her gaze. The women stared silently for what seemed to Kyle to be several minutes. "Yes, I killed him," Mrs. Baker blurted. With an exasperated tone, Kyle said, "Carol?" Carol laughed. She knew. "Men always like me, Kyle. Women not so much. They see right through me." Turning to Audrey. "Look, sweetie. I did kill Carl, but I didn't murder him, see what I mean? If you wanted to make a case for self-defense, you should have just shot him. I've never read a case in which poison was used in self-defense, much less poison and a gunshot." "Okay, not self-defense. But what is it called? Justifiable homicide? The way he treated me left me no choice." Audrey sat down and took Kyle's still untouched legal pad. "The abuse defense," she started writing. "That's something I can work with. There's some case law, but nothing definitive. Texas judges seem to love it. I have to tell you up front," Audrey continued, writing and talking at the same time. "We won't be able to just lawyer our way through this. We'll need investigators to get out in front of the police and DA investigators. They need to start right away, like today. They can interview witnesses before the DA's people tell them not to talk to us. We'll need a psychologist and an expert on abusive marriages. You also need personal security, but let us hire them so you don't end up surrounded by retired cops who will inform for the DA. All that is expensive, so if you didn't know it already, being rich will be a big help. I'd say we need a $200,000 retainer to secure our legal services and start hiring security and PIs right away." Kyle and Carol looked at each other and then back at Audrey. "What?" Audrey asked. "My husband was rich, but I'm not." Baker explained about her late husband's tight grip on the family finances and her lack of available funds pending the probate of the will. She also mentioned for the first time the prenuptial agreement she had signed, which would have left her penniless had she chosen to escape the marriage via divorce. "The $200,000 is for openers," Audrey explained with forced patience. "If you want to win a case like this, it could easily run to $500, but it's better if you just assume that it could be millions. This isn't the time to pinch pennies. This is your life." Kyle stood and walked behind Carol's chair. He put his hand on her shoulder, glancing down at her half-unbuttoned shirt and quickly looking up before his partner noticed. "Look, Audrey, this could be a big case for us. She's good for the money. Her husband's estate is all hers as long as we keep her from being convicted. And even if she is, she still owns the community property. Besides, I've got some ideas for how we can get the cash to get started." Behind Carol's back, he gave Audrey a pleading look. Struggling to keep her face blank, Audrey asked, "What kind of ideas?" 14 years earlier. On stage, college junior Kyle Carnan stood in front of a polished wooden rail, separating him from a jury full of college students, made up to look like middle-aged men. Kyle wore a white seersucker suit with pale blue pinstripes. Kyle's height, the gray on the temples of his thick brown hair, and his bearing made it a plausible outfit for a lawyer, especially given the year and the region in which the play was set. He addressed the jury in the accent of an educated Southerner while pacing in front of them. "Well, first, gentlemen, This case should never have come to trial. The prosecution has presented absolutely no evidence that the crime of which the defendant is accused ever even took place. Instead, the prosecution relies on the testimony of only two people, both of whom have shown themselves to be unreliable, right here in this courtroom. Kyle started pacing around his office. Well, first ladies, he began, we should really be treating this as a lawsuit prevention case. If she's convicted, Mr. Baker's family and business associates will come out of the woodwork with wrongful death suits. So we should get a percentage of that estate for helping her to keep it by getting an acquittal. I thought you were criminal lawyers. Wouldn't that be a civil case? Interjected Carol. How does that get us cash up front? Audrey demanded. Kyle continued to pace the room, gripping one of his suspenders. Ladies, let me finish, please, he said. Just be patient while I tell you how we can get money up front for this case. He paused dramatically. He paused some more. Well? Both women said almost simultaneously. Carol said her rings are worth at least 60,000. 40, I said. 40,000. That's a start right there. Besides, we can cut down on the upfront costs. For example, why does she need security? With an exasperated look, Audrey said, to protect her from Mr. Baker's family, who may have jumped to a false conclusion that Carol is responsible for his death. All his family are dead, Carol interjected. That's why I'm the only heir and the only suspect. Protect her from the real killer then. Whatever. The important point is that she's frightened and needs security, Audrey insisted. We need to get the security in place and then let the news know she's scared, so there's some sympathy for her already, before the autopsy results are made public. We'll figure out later who exactly she's scared of. Baker spoke up. If someone comes after me, I've still got a gun. I left the house and took it with me before the police arrived. I've got several guns, in fact, if I can find the combination to Carl's safe. Audrey rolled her eyes. You don't need to shoot anyone else until this case is over. First thing my investigator will do is get that gun from wherever you stashed it and lock it up. Okay, Kyle, what else you got? Kyle gave Audrey a little boy look. Hey, you're the idea person in this firm, he said. But here I am coming up with all the ideas. How do you think we can get some money up front? Fine, she answered with obvious reluctance. Mrs. Baker, she said rather sharply, we'll sell the engagement ring only. Keep that wedding ring on your finger until the trial's over, if there is one. You're a grieving widow who can't believe the husband she loved drove her to such an extreme to defend herself. Or that he got killed by home invaders. Or something. I know a first-rate probate attorney, and I'll use the money from the ring to retain him. He's expert at breaking loose money from estates in situations exactly like this. You're going to need it. The place you need to pinch pennies is in your personal spending. Don't carry a lot of cash. Buy nothing but groceries and gas for your car. Not much of that either. You need to lay low. Don't shop or eat out, and for God's sake, don't drink in public. You're a grieving widow, not a party girl. I gave Kyle all my money. Audrey took the envelope Carol had given to Kyle. She peeled out 8 20s and handed them to her. This is more than enough for anything you need to buy. For the next few days, you'll stick close to us, so if you need something, we'll get it for you. Carol nodded in reluctant assent. Now, where's the gun right now? Audrey asked. Carol began to open her purse. Stop. Freeze, Audrey ordered. What? I'm not going to shoot my own lawyer, Carol protested. Good to know, Audrey said. Tell me about the gun. Is it automatic or revolver? Does anyone but you handle it? Do you handle it often? Is it loaded? Carol looked upward, trying to remember each question in turn. Revolver. Not since a gunsmith worked on it about 6 months ago. Once or twice a week in our indoor range, and yes, but with 2 spent rounds. Wait here. Audrey went to her office and returned with a large Ziploc bag and a roll of tape. She had Carol carefully pull the gun from her purse and empty the bullets and shells into the bag, then put the revolver in after them. Audrey Ziplocked it and sealed it with tape that had the words lawyer client work product printed in a repeating pattern. She then put the bag in a brown envelope and sealed it with the same tape. Mrs. Baker, could you wait in here while I talk to Kyle about another case? Audrey gave the brown envelope to Dolores, the firm's receptionist, and told her to call Paul Herzog, the head of the security firm she used. Dolores was to pass on the message that Audrey had a personal item for him, and that there was no rush in sending anyone available to get it. By Audrey and Herzog's code, that meant that it was highly confidential and that it needed to be picked up quickly by Paul himself or a highly trusted agent. Kyle and Audrey entered the remodeled utility closet that served as a library conference room and shut the door behind them. Their small staff had orders never to interrupt them when behind that closed door, unless the building were on fire. Dolores speculated that this rule was a cover for an office romance, but it was really Audrey's place to vent to Kyle. "Let me guess," Kyle opened before Audrey can start. "You don't want us to take the case." "Oh yes, I do want us to take this case. This could be big, Kyle. The money she can pay us could carry us through several lean months if we need it. Not to mention that if we can get that gold-digging bitch off by claiming he abused her with her gilded cage, every other husband killer in the state will be beating down our door for the next decade." "That's exactly what I was thinking," Kyle said. "So, what's the problem?" "The problem is that none of that will happen if you let your dick ruin this case for us." "My dick? You mean, oh come on, Audrey. You notice how old she is?" "Did you? How old do you think she is?" "I'd guess late 50s, maybe early 60s. "Oh," Audrey said. "I would have thought you would put her in her 40s. Kyle made a face as if mystified she would think him so gullible. "Kyle, I know this is your case, but if you want it to work, you must listen to me, especially in front of her. So go along with what I say, and if you disagree with me, tell me in here, alone."